Back live at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, Atlanta United, New York Red Bulls both warming up in front of us down on the pitch. Kickoff time will be 2:25 this afternoon as the broadcasting television network Fox wraps up their coverage of the Women's World Cup, which again the United States won for the fourth time today, 2-0 over Holland. And since we're in a patriotic mood about the accomplishment of the U.S. women's soccer team, we thought this would be a good time to talk about an achievement made by an Atlanta team 40 years ago. And Jason, the U.S. Open Cup is the oldest soccer trophy in the United States. The second oldest trophy is the National Amateur Cup.
Yeah, the National Amateur Cup launched in 1923, and in 1979, there had never been a team from Georgia who entered until the Datagraphic Soccer Club entered. And it was the Datagraphic's first year as well as an amateur team. And I know there's a lot of people out there who are listening on their way in who have heard of Datagraphic because they were Atlanta soccer for a long period of time. Started in 1978, ran through 2000, and won so many state titles, Atlanta District Amateur titles, regional titles, competed in a ton of national finals. But they won the National Amateur Cup 40 years ago, almost to the day. And we're so lucky to have two members from that team with us right now, John Staniforth and Chris Heyburn. Thanks for being with us, guys.
Hey,
Pleasure to be here.
So you guys had two very different experiences as this team launched. And I want to start with Chris because last year we celebrated the first year of the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And what I noticed as I was researching that first season of Datagraphic was so many players were local players who played in high school in DeKalb County especially. Those programs really started because of the Chiefs.
Exactly right. I remember when they came to town, the YMCAs, as I was growing up, we used to play football and basketball and all that. And when the Chiefs came to town, the YMCAs started offering soccer as an option. So I played all the other sports, and obviously I played soccer as well, and was pretty good at it. But I can remember the Chiefs all lived in one apartment complex, so their kids were on a team that played against our team. So what got me interested in was watching these kids and listening to their accents and the skill level that they had at when I was 11 and 12 years old. That really got me interested in playing. So, yeah, the Chiefs were a big influence on me getting out and playing soccer.
Yeah, it was such a critical thing, and we see with Atlanta United the influence they're having right now, and hopefully we'll see more and more kids playing across the metro area. But, John, you came from England, were part of Oldham Athletics Academy, and you were so instrumental, along with Jeff Solom, in bringing the group together to form such a strong amateur team that honestly played toe-to-toe with teams like the Chiefs from time to time.
Yeah, when we first came over and we got asked to put the team together, Jeff and I were very keen on getting a good nucleus of hard-working players. We realised that bringing up, getting with guys who were college age or beyond, we couldn't really work on the skill. Can't improve them that much at that age. So he says, we'll be the fittest. We'll be the fittest we can be. Jeff, was tremendous for us, and we worked very hard.
Yeah, we worked very hard.
And that time we were just an amateur team. We never thought we'd get to this stage. We never thought we'd win, what we have won. And it was a compliment to all the guys that we pulled in. They never complained. We trained Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday morning, played Sunday, for weeks before we did anything. And, the kids who wanted to do it, did it. The kids who said, no, I don't want to do this, we moved them on. We probably weren't the most skillful team, but we were the hardest working.
We worked hard, right.
And that's what made it. They were a great group of guys.
Yeah, it was a great group of guys. It was kind of interesting because we'd all, until I met Stanny, most of the players that were on the team had played against each other all over the ADSL, right? So there was a notice that went out and said, hey, they're trying to put a team together, and it was like a mass tryout. A bunch of people came and went and all that, and the group of guys that we ended up with, like I said, turned out to work really hard, and we did really well.
One thing that stuck with me, George Baker, who was the president of Datagraphic Incorporated, and was really the benefactor for the team in the early days. One of the early things when you pick players who were fit, you pick players who were committed, but also players who were committed to growing the game.
Yeah.
And that was such a huge element, and it's such a big part of the legacy of Datagraphic Soccer that I think gets lost in the shuffle sometimes with all of the success on the field.
Very early on, I remember doing soccer camps at churches, schools, youth groups, and we were there, Jeff and I and the rest of the guys were there training, working out. And some of these people had just heard about soccer, and it was like, well, how do we kick a ball? And you talk about grassroots.
Yeah.
It was the fertilizer.
So you played the National Amateur Cup final at Fulton County Stadium almost on this day 40 years ago, 1979. What are your fondest memories of that tournament and what you had to go through to get into the final and win it?
Finding out that there was an amateur cup that we could enter.
Yeah.
And then asking people, how do we enter? Nobody knew.
We didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know what we were even trying to go for. And we didn't think we'd make it that far either, but we just kept winning. And it was like, John, we were talking the other night, before the final, we were in the locker room, and who was it said?
Sammy Webb.
Sammy Webb, he says, we've come this far. Let's go ahead and win it. And we did.
We never dreamt we'd win it.
No.
Not in 1,000 years. But it's like, as soon as we go out on the field, it's like, we have a feeling we can beat these guys. Mm-hmm. And you go around and, hey, we can beat these guys. And it was just a typical one game at a time.
Yeah. And I don't think anybody really gave us much of a chance. I mean, there was a little bit of press back then. Soccer America had picked Baltimore to win, and nobody expected us to beat them. And we went up there, and it was raining the whole game. And we got off the plane, and we drove out to the field, and it was just pouring the whole time. And it was a slosh fest, and we ended up beating them 2-1. They couldn't believe what hit them, And then they picked San Francisco to beat us.
Underdogs all the time.
Yeah, the whole time. So I think that kind of helped us because nobody knew who we were, And then the next year, everybody knew who we were, right. And we couldn't repeat. So yeah.
What was it like in those days, like traveling? I mean, getting to Baltimore for a national semifinal and going to play regionals. How difficult was that?
George played for
he made it easy for us.
He made it easy for us. He would fly us to Baltimore. Mm-hmm. But the other times, like we'd play against, because we wanted to get the name out. Some of the college kids that were playing for us told their college coaches, and we'd play Clemson, South Carolina, Duke, North Carolina, Central Florida, and it would be on a Friday night meeting, 16 players in a bus, drive, get there 2 o'clock in the morning, sleep, play the game, get back in the bus, drive home.
Go back, yeah.
And nobody bitched about it. Nobody complained about it. We were playing. Some of the guys were playing the best soccer that they ever played against some of the best teams that they played.
Yeah.
And to me, it was just like, if we can keep playing soccer, I'm happy doing that.
Yeah.
But
we
it took a lot of work.
We worked hard though, but we were kids, so it was like, we were enjoying it. Even the rough bus drives, it was like something new, right? So we enjoyed all that. Yeah.
So, what are your impressions when you look out on these scenes in front of us where 70,000 people are taking their seats and they're about to watch an Atlanta professional team play a professional soccer match?
I cry. I'm serious. Yeah. When the first time I came in and watched it, it was when I saw, and it was only a 40,000, didn't even have the top open. And same thing with Georgia Tech over at Grant Field. When I walk in and see the crowd there, and compare it to the type of crowds that we used to have back in the late 60s, early 70s with the Chiefs and whatnot. There was a couple of thousand people at the stadium. I get emotional. I really do. I can't believe how far we've come. I love to see it.
Why do you think we've come so far?
I would hope to think it was maybe because of something we did, because we got the kids playing, and we were taught by the teams that came in then, and some of these kids and the guys that we played with have been coaching on the community level, and now their kids are coaching, and I think that we maybe helped some of it, but there's a lot of kids playing soccer here in the city of Atlanta. It's amazing.
No doubt about it. You guys were the foundation, you and the Chiefs, and Datagraphic again, the first Atlanta team to win the National Amateur Cup. It was back in 1979. Now Atlanta United trying to win the U.S. Open Cup, which is the only trophy that's older. They will play St. Louis of USL Championship on Wednesday as they try to get to the semifinals of that tournament. And, hey, maybe it'll be like you guys in 1979. Everything will just fall into place.
Let's hope so.
We used to play in the Open Cup as well.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we got beat in the semi-final quite a few times. It was a jump in the standard.
It's a different level, a different level of playing there. Yep. But we had a good time trying that one as well.
It's been a pleasure having you up in the booth. Happy anniversary, 40 years. I'm sure in some ways it feels like yesterday. In some ways it probably feels like it might be 80 years.
Yeah.
It's a tremendous accomplishment.
When we go up the stairs, yeah.
John Staniforth, Chris Heyburn of Datagraphic, the 1979 National Amateur Cup champions. We'll take one more break. When we come back, Jason will have his keys to the match. Atlanta United and New York Red Bulls here on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game.